Hi, Mary Lou here from HopeSpring Marketing and Communications team. And today we're speaking with Michelle Ivy from Trillium West Real Estate. And we're talking to Michelle about her exciting launch of her channel with HopeSpring called My Life with Carl. So let's find out a little bit more about you, Michelle, and My Life with Carl. Let's get into this right now. It's wonderful to be together with you today, and thanks for joining me today and taking time out of your day to go through this interview. And looking forward to speaking with you. To start, could you share a little bit about yourself and your journey with your cancer, and how did you name your cancer Carl? I'm curious.
Well, Michelle Ivy as a human is a pretty multifaceted being. I have a lot of different interests. I'm a former athlete. I'm a real estate broker. I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother. I'm a cottage lover, nature enthusiast. I love wining and dining with friends. I'm a pretty social person as well. So there's a lot of different aspects to my life, and I love life as a whole. As far as my life with Carl, actually, my cancer journey started about 8 years ago when a lump was found on my thyroid, and basically everything escalated from there. And it's something that I've been living with ever since. I try not to use the word fighting because personally I think the negativity of the word fighting does nothing as far as help healing, for lack of a better term. If anything, living with it is something that I've grown to accept over the last 8 years, and I'm going to continue to do just that and live my life on my own terms, despite what some people like to chime in with. But as far as why I named it Carl, my son and I are both nature lovers, and we have a habit of finding animals. And from a very young age, we would name animals based on the first letter of whatever that animal was. So it could be Sam the snake, or it could be Frank the frog, or Henry the heron. There's a lot of different names that we kind of carry on, and it was part of a way of us being able to remember the name of the animal when we'd see him next time, or her.
Right.
So Carl came about because, number one, I didn't know anyone named Carl that was very close to me, so I knew it wouldn't be offending anyone in my inner circle. And I used it as a way to kind of direct my anger outside of myself. So again, as I mentioned, having the negative, toxic energy inside of you is not a healthy way of living. So to have Carl outside of me, to me, was something to direct my anger at. So as opposed to getting the pity questions of, how are you feeling today, or how are you doing? My close friends and family know to ask, how's Carl doing? And then I can direct the anger that way and kind of add a little bit of humor to it as well too. And that in itself, just a simple little name change can change the energy of the entire conversation.
I think you'll be gain some followers just because of your attitude and your tips on My Life with Carl, and we'll tell you how to sign up and be able to join Michelle on her Instagram, and we'll tell you a little bit more in the later on in the interview. You often use the term thriver rather than survivor when speaking about your experience with cancer. Can you explain what being a thriver means to you?
Yeah, I tend to use the words thriver and survivor interchangeably depending on the crowd that I'm in. If I'm with the general public I find are not as well versed, but I'm working on that, on the terminology that surrounds cancer. The term survivor tends to have a little bit of a note of you've beat it, right? So I find when it comes to the general public, if you use the term survivor, they tend to think that you've beat it. In my opinion, we're all surviving every single morning that we wake up and get out of bed. So to me, I am a cancer survivor, even though I technically have not had a clear diagnosis yet, and I don't have a clear bill of health. I still am a survivor every day. As far as thriver goes, to me, I'm thriving every day. I'm still going to work. I'm still hanging out with my friends. I'm still going to my cottage. I'm still doing all the things that I enjoy doing, maybe a little bit differently with some adaptations than I used to do. but I'm not going to let a diagnosis stop me from thriving within my own life.
Now, since we're getting close to Mother's Day and you're a mom and a career woman, balancing motherhood and career are challenging enough. How have these roles shifted or been impacted since your diagnosis with your cancer?
Well, I'm very grateful to be self-employed and have a relatively flexible schedule. I'm also incredibly grateful for my long-term clients who still have full faith and full confidence in my ability to serve them from a real estate standpoint. And from a family perspective, you know, there's definitely some flexibility there as well too, where I can include my children in, you know, the things that are going on in my life, and there's some understanding there as well too. From a parental standpoint, I think it's really important to be honest with your kids at a level that is appropriate to their age, because you wouldn't believe how supportive they can be and understanding when they have a better understanding as to what you're going through. Yeah.
Amazing. Like I think you have a lot you can add on your channel about being a parent and things that you talk about on your channel about that. And maybe that can help others as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about your channel just a minute.
I think another important aspect of parenting while you have a diagnosis like this is you become a lot more mindful of the day-to-day things. So, you know, the artwork that came back from school, you know, means a lot more. Like the colors are more prominent. The poems that they send home from school are a lot more important, and things just become a little bit more magnified. So in a strange way, I'm actually grateful for Carl in some ways, because he woke me up to the things that I was just taking for granted on a regular basis.
That's a really cool response.
Yeah. Thanks.
Your workplace support. You've spoken highly of your workplace, Trillium West Real Estate, and how they've supported you through your cancer journey. Can you share some specific ways that you felt were important to you that they've helped you during this time?
I think because we're such a collaborative brokerage, which is unlike most of the brokerages that are out there, there's an incredible sense of family. And I've developed some pretty close friendships with some of my colleagues here as well too, who some during the quiet phase where no one knew what I was going through, they were aware of the situation, so they would swoop in and help whenever the help was needed. For the most part, because I have a flexible schedule, I've been able to work around things. But there's been the odd times where, you know, I've broken a leg or needed surgery, or, you know, had some pretty intense treatments, or was in isolation due to, you know, radioactive iodine treatments. In those circumstances, my colleagues have been phenomenal, and as far as stepping in to help out with my clients.
And I can say HopeSpring is truly grateful for Trillium West Real Estate's golf tournament being the chosen recipient last year. That was the highlight of our year, and it was so cool watching the tournament be organized and evolve, and the day of the tournament. And thank you for suggesting that HopeSpring receive that. We really appreciate that, and we extend our gratitude to Trillium West Real Estate.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's an event that we host every year, and I was so happy that the brokerage supported me in my quest to raise money for HopeSpring Cancer Support Center last year, and we hit record-breaking numbers, over $21,000 raised. And I believe, as Sean had mentioned, the president of HopeSpring, that would help 365 patients for an entire year of services at HopeSpring, which is phenomenal.
Yes, we're so grateful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for what you do.
And Michelle and her son continue to be involved with HopeSpring through the children's programming and through some of the other equine therapy programming and other special events. And we're so grateful to have you join us. And it's so nice to see you out there recently at the Titans basketball game event. Now, your social media persona, let's talk a little bit more about My Life with Carl. What inspired you to start your social media channel, My Life with Carl?
Initially, when I started off the blog, I started it on Instagram only as just a personal blog as a release for myself. And if it helped anybody else that was out there that was going through the same thing, more power to the channel or to the page. But it was a way for me to get my feelings out, because I found when I'd open up to friends or to people who understood or were aware of my situation, they were taken aback. Like, they were in a good way. Like, they were really inspired by it. And so I felt that, if I can inspire just my immediate circle, imagine if I went beyond that and I can help other people outside of that. And then my story became a lot more public. I was actually very quiet about it for the first 6 years of my battle, mostly because visibly you never would have been able to tell. So I hadn't lost my hair or anything like that. It's not until my hair fell out from one of the treatments that I was taking that I decided that, given I have a pretty public job, I stand out, I'm 6'2", I'm kind of hard to miss, that, hey, maybe this is my platform. Maybe this is my time to get the word out there and hopefully help some other people along the way as well too. I know that I think differently than a lot of people, and I see things a lot differently than a lot of people. So if I can share my perspective, it can help, and it can help someone else along the way, then more power to it.
Michelle, you're inspirational.
Thank you.
What message do you hope to convey through your posts and interactions?
I just want people to know that life goes on. There's this public perception that as soon as you hear cancer diagnosis, that people think you're dying. They visualize a bald head in a hospital, and that's pretty much it for you. So that's not always the case. There's people who live with this for decades, so why wait around crawled up in a ball waiting to die when there's so much more life out there for you? Like, everything is magnified. As I mentioned previously, like, there's a bit of gratitude that comes with it, because my God, do I ever chase my goals harder now? And my God, do I ever look at everything differently now? Like, colors, sounds, poems, everything. Like, everything's very poetic. Everything's very artistic. And it's kind of a cool way to see things now, where I was taking things for granted and just giving into the grind that we all fall into, right? Previously.
What kind of topics can someone expect to go to your channel? What are some of the things that you've covered?
Everything from humor to just real life things, like maybe the things that you shouldn't say to a cancer patient that maybe are a little bit hurtful sometimes, or a little bit sensitive. Or, I even did one on dating with cancer, believe it or not, which, a lot of people was like, huh? Like, yeah, you can still live your life, right?
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, and if you had a sore toe or a broken leg or something like that, you wouldn't give up on life. So why would I give up on life now? If anything, it makes me a lot more selective of who I choose to spend my time with, right? Time, I've learned, is the most precious thing that we own. It's not the things in your closet. It's not the things in your house. It's time. So who I choose to spend my time with, whether it be friends, family, partners, even clients as well too, you become a lot more selective as to who is worthy of your time.
I know you shared earlier with me some funny stories with your son. When you were first getting used to calling your cancer Carl. So what would take me through a typical morning, because you had some wonderful morning quips that you shared with me.
Yeah, we're pretty funny, my son and I together. So like when you lose your hair, you lose your eyebrows, you lose your eyelashes, and you lose all your hair basically, right? So in the mornings, before I'd have my makeup on, I'd kind of joke with my son, because you can kind of see the worry in his face a little bit, right? Because mom doesn't look the same way she used to, so I would just randomly turn to him and be like, can you tell if I'm mad or surprised or angry? Because when you have no eyebrows, you really have no expression. So that would kind of add a little bit of light to the situation. And, instead of, talking about going for radiation for a tumor, I would word it in a way where I'm going to go play laser tag with Carl and going to kick his butt. Or after I broke my femur, we'd be walking down the hall or something like that. And I'd always joke that I'm sprinting and then I'm going to catch him. So Little things like that. You kind of have to be quick-witted and funny about things because, laughter really is the best medicine. That's when I was telling you about the spring cleaning as well too. So we were going through his room and throwing out everything that's broken. And so I told him, I'm like, in this household, we throw out everything that's broken, unless it's mom. Like, that one we keep. And I got a good chuckle, and then we carried on. We decluttered his room, right? Those little things.
Did it, and maybe the answer is obvious, but how did he respond to these?
Always with laughter.
Yeah,
we laugh a lot. We actually laugh quite a bit. So, yeah.
And did it de-stress the situation for him?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. So, sometimes, some days are hard and you need a lot more love and snuggles or snoogles, as he calls them. But and other days it's just a little bit funnier, and it's okay to feel the feelings, right? Like you move on from your feelings a lot faster when things are difficult, and you talk about it and you allow yourself to feel it, than bottling it up. Bottling it up is not healthy for you.
No, I totally agree.
Matters worse.
Yes. Good for you for recognizing that.
Thank you.
That's awesome, because it's a hard thing to get to, right?
Yeah.
All right. How has sharing your story publicly affected your personal healing and cancer journey?
It's been very freeing. It's to have kept it hidden for so long. And to be quite honest, I kept it hidden for a while because as a self-employed single mother, I didn't want it to affect my business. I was worried that my clients wouldn't want to call me for fear that I was in a hospital or that I was sick or that, all those things that go through your head, right? So I did it for personal protection, not just of my business, but also of the energy that surrounds me as well too. I felt like the more people that knew about it, the more people would worry, and then it would just be such an uncomfortable feeling, and people would stop seeing Michelle and they'd start seeing Carl instead.
Right.
I'm still very much Michelle. If anything, I'm more alive now than I ever have been before. Yeah. Well,
yeah. All right. The engagement with HopeSpring and this Mother's Day launching of My Life with Carl. So as we approach Mother's Day, you're preparing to partner and collaborate with HopeSpring to launch your channel. What prompted you to partner with HopeSpring for this launch?
I love everything that they do to help people, not just physically, but spiritually and just mentally as well too. There's a lot more that happens with a diagnosis outside of the hospital setting. So we immediately think cancer, we think hospital setting, chemo, like that's exactly what people gravitate towards. And doctors are fantastic with treating patients, and hospitals are phenomenal as far as the service they provide to patients. But there's a lot more that is affected. Your families, your friendships, your business, your physicality, your mental health as well too. Like there's a lot of services that HopeSpring does to support people so they know that they're not alone. So whether it's support groups or therapy or family events or art classes, there's a lot that goes on. Even humor yoga, which I'm about to try. I can't wait. There's a lot of things that are there to help people, whether even providing wigs. They're fantastic when it comes to that. And their board is very passionate about what they do.
Mother's Day is a time of celebration and reflection for many. What message do you want to send to others who might be facing similar battles with health and motherhood?
Hug your kids. Be open with them and keep carrying on with life. It's amazing how inspiring you can be to little eyes as well too, and not just adult eyes, right? Your kids see you. They see you getting up every single day, going to work, doing your thing, taking care of the house and taking care of them as well too, and still being there to meet their needs. It's important. It's important. And something as simple, and one of my blog posts was on makeup, as silly as that is. Try to look like yourself every single day if you can, and the energy that surrounds you will be less worried, right? If you completely give up and stop living life on your terms and succumb to Carl might win.
Yeah.
Right? So I'd rather I win.
Good message.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. So looking forward, what are your hopes for the future of My Life with Carl and your collaboration with HopeSpring?
I just hope that the word gets out and I can help more people. There's power in a voice, and especially a confident voice and a voice that has gone through it and has been through the ringer. I understand. I get it. So I'm here to share my message, my lessons. Some of it might resonate with people or some might not, and that's okay. But I hope to help as many people as I possibly can.
Any upcoming projects or goals for your channel that you'd like to share with your audience today?
I would love more content ideas. Obviously I'm familiar with what goes on in my own life and I talk about those things, but if there are questions or concerns or curious things that you would love to know about, I'm happy to talk about it from a patient perspective. Doctors are great at explaining things, but sometimes it's so scientific that it's over your head, right? Or it's not necessarily like a real life event that you've had to encounter or go through, or that maybe you have a family member or a friend that's going through it as well too. So if you have any content ideas, I'd love to hear them. So you can either reach me on my channels. It's on TikTok, Instagram, even on Twitter as well too, which we call X now, I guess. It's at My Life with Carl, with dots in between all the words.
What advice would you give to anyone struggling to juggle personal health crises with the responsibilities as a parent and a professional?
Be very discerning on who you spend your time with.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with positivity, people who are uplifting, not toxic positivity. I don't know if anyone's ever heard that, where it's always over the top, and unrealistic, but people are there to support you and people who see you, not the diagnosis, who aren't always constantly filled with worry and tough energy, right? It's hard enough to get through every single day without thinking about it and constantly being reminded about it. You don't need people to be constantly reminding you about it on top of that as well too. So yeah, be very discerning as to who you commit your time to, whether that's family, friends, clients.
Makes sense.
And don't be afraid to ask for help. I'm a hyper independent woman, and that's probably the hardest thing for me and has been for a long time, is asking for help. But your tribe of people, your community of people, and the people that love you really want to help. They're just waiting on the sidelines asking, waiting for you to ask for help, right? So when you do, they're ready to jump, right? They love you.
Tap into your cheerleaders.
Absolutely, tap into your cheerleaders. I have that. Yeah, it's a good one.
Anything else you'd like to add? Any thoughts?
Just you're not alone. Don't be afraid to talk about it. And there's always that fear that, when you bring it up, that you're going to be the negative Nelly that's always going to be around everyone, and people are going to want to stay away from you because it's always very gloomy. But gloomy is a choice.
Yeah.
You don't have to choose gloom all the time. Yes, it's terrifying. Yes, it's terrifying. It really is terrifying when you have that diagnosis. But how you spin it in your own life is entirely up to you. Yeah, I chose humor. I chose to make it lighthearted. That works for me. And hopefully it can work for other people as well too.
Who doesn't love to laugh, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Anything else that you would like to add in addition? Any other thoughts or anything that you'd like to tell our audience about, or just anything just that we haven't touched on? I know we touched on a lot.
Yeah, we touched on a lot. That I can go to the top of my head. Yeah. Don't be afraid to make light of it.
Yeah.
Even the hair situation, sometimes I joke that I'm going to straighten it out one day because it's so curly. See how long it is. I would debate with a couple colleagues that I'm going to see how long it takes for me to get pigtails in there. You have to have fun with it. Losing my hair was not a choice. I had a long curly hair before, and that was my trademark for decades and decades. And to have lost that was kind of it's like losing a bit of my own identity,
Of course.
right?
Yeah.
So you just have to find it in other ways. Yeah, you just have to roll with the punches.
Now you have another identity. Not part of the interview again.
Yeah.
I love your short hair, and it looks fabulous on it. You
very
got the
springy.
bone structure for carrying off short hair. It looks glamorous, and
I
yeah.
have a mohawk in one of my videos. I learned fun of it.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
It's a really small one. Mohawk.
Michelle, you're a joy to connect with, and thank you for sharing your story and your journey with and so publicly. And I'm sure it's going to make a difference in people's lives just to join My Life with Carl, and maybe it shows them how to be humorous or shows them how to continue on. And you should be really proud of putting that together and putting the energy into that, and that shows the type of person that you are. Like, you've got a big heart and just want to help others. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a good creative outlet for me.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I wish you all the success with it, and yeah, that's truly special, and thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to HopeSpring's Cancer Support Center for everything that you do for everyone. Like, that's very selfless. It's an incredible organization. That helps a lot of people.
I think we have a really great team. So I think there's a lot of people that really care and really want to help, and that's who's attracted to HopeSpring to make things happen. You know, and volunteers and the team members and donors, and the list goes on. It's just amazing, the community support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can tell. It's a vibe that you feel.
Yeah. That's
Great.
Thanks for the feedback. It's amazing to hear that.
Yeah. Good.
I think we're done, right?
That's what the kids do now.